Joining us live on Newsline is David Schwartz, who has worked as a New York criminal defense attorney. He is also a former prosecutor. David, good to have you here this morning. I'm curious about this. I want to play you this clip in which
Sure.
Alec Baldwin was asked this in the past. Take a quick listen.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them, never.
Okay, so that's what he said in that interview with George Stephanopoulos. Today we find out he is going to be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Is that to say prosecutors believe that he did indeed pull the trigger, or what?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that he believed he pulled the trigger. First of all, it was a very fast set of events, but the involuntary portion of the manslaughter means that Alec Baldwin, at least they're accusing Alec Baldwin of handling this gun without due caution and circumspection. So, which is more like a criminal negligence concept, where he didn't act as a reasonable person would in that situation in handling the weapon and safeguarding that weapon. So they must have some facts where they have concluded that involuntary manslaughter is the right charge for him.
So if you're his defense attorney, then what do you argue? Do they say, well, look, they handed me the gun. How am I supposed to know?
Right. That's exactly what you're arguing. This is a horrible, horrible accident, a tragic accident. But my client, Alec Baldwin, has no culpability whatsoever. He did not pull the trigger. He did act as a reasonable person. And sometimes in life, horrible things happen, accidents happen, and that's why this should be handled as a civil case, which it was. The civil case was settled, but it should not enter the arena of criminal case. And that's where you have the tug of war between criminal defense attorneys and prosecutors, because prosecutors, they have concluded something different, that this does enter the world of criminal culpability, and it's more than just an accident, that there was some degree of recklessness involved on the part of Alec Baldwin, and that's going to be litigated in court.
Right. So the special prosecutor, David, had this quote this morning saying if any one of these three people, including Alec Baldwin, had done their job, that was the quote, had done their job, Helena Hutchins would be alive today. It's that simple. But it doesn't sound that simple. Again, what's the defense to that in terms of what Baldwin's job was supposed to be?
Well, and what the prosecutor means by that is that Baldwin was acting in a reckless manner. And if he wasn't acting in a reckless manner, if he took all the precautions, if he looked to see if the gun was loaded, if he examined the gun, and it's up to the jury to see what a reasonable person would do under the same set of circumstances. That's where the push and the pull comes. It's a very interesting case. It's very highly reliable on the specific facts of what exactly happened. And look, the prosecutors have done their investigation, and they have concluded that there are enough facts to support this charge. And we'll just have to see how that all plays out in court. But certainly Alec Baldwin, to the criminal case, has many, many defenses. And again, you land at the same defense, that this is a horrible accident, but Alec Baldwin acted reasonably. So that's what you're basically going to argue as his defense attorney.
Right. So, David, do we see this go to a public trial? Is this something that's going to be, all over court TV and more, or what?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. If there's certainly room here for a plea to be had, and I'm sure the plea could involve minimal jail time. So certainly that's going to be a possibility here. There's a lot of room for negotiation. But if the negotiations don't work, then the case is going to go to trial. And Alec Baldwin has a giant ego, and he may just take this all the way to trial. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Right. I guess we'll find out together, David. But as for this charge, this typically comes with, 18 months in prison if convicted?
Yes. Under the New Mexico law, there's an enhancement involved. It could be 5 years. But generally speaking, I believe it's 18 months. I haven't read the sentencing charts yet in New Mexico.
Right. And if people take pleas in a case like this, a matter of months in jail time or no jail time? Again, I know we're all just trying to get the particulars of New Mexico.
Right. In an involuntary manslaughter situation where, look, the Alec Baldwin has settled the civil case. In this type of situation, you can see a non-jail disposition with probation, certainly a felony plea, and maybe some other attachments, restitution, which seems to have been covered in the civil case, fines, things like that. But there can be some jail time, too.
One last quick thing. If you were his lawyer, Alec Baldwin, would you tell him not to give any interviews at this point?
Absolutely. No interviews, no public statements. I understand there's the court of public opinion, but in a criminal case, there's just too much on the line to allow your client to be out there giving interviews.
David Schwartz, a New York criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. David, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
The Newswatch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.